House of Cards is brought to you by Drizzly, your online liquor store. Available in over 95 cities across North America, Drizzly offers a huge selection and competitive pricing with a side of personalized content. Now there's no need to leave the house. Get alcohol delivered in less than an hour by Drizzly. Head on over to drizzly.com and order today. And now get $5 off your first order of $20 or more when using promo code DRINK19 at checkout. Shop beer, wine, and liquor with drizzly.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls,
You're listening to House of Cards.
Today, the game is different.
I want to gamble. Gambling is a very serious business. Is that clear?
Hi, everybody. Welcome to House of Cards. I'm Ashley Adams, your host for the hour. We have a great guest. His name is Chris Buddy, and he is a filmmaker and video producer with a new documentary called Inside the Edge that is all about professional blackjack. And then we're going to talk to Angel Espino. He is a table game developer. He's been on before talking about his two games, Blackjack Burnout and Poker Burnout. He's coming back today to talk about a third game called Monarchy Baccarat. So stay tuned. We'll be with him shortly.
House of Cards is brought to you by Drizzly, your online liquor store. Available in over 95 cities across North America, Drizzly offers a huge selection and competitive pricing with a side of personalized content. Now there's no need to leave the house. Get alcohol delivered in less than an hour by Drizzly. Head on over to drizzly.com and order today. And now get $5 off your first order of $20 or more when using promo code DRINK19 at checkout. Shop beer, wine, and liquor with drizzly.com.
Yeah, you, come here. Haven't you heard? We don't need to hide anymore.
Now, we can shop privately for adult products at adamandeve.com. They've got massage oils, lingerie, and lots more we can't mention here. Use offer code SPICE404. They'll give you 50% off almost any one item, 3 free DVDs, free mystery gift, and free shipping. That's 50% off, free shipping, and more. Private shopping starts at adamandeve.com.
You're listening to the House of Cards.
Okay, let's play some damn cards.
Hi, everyone. It's Ashley Adams. Welcome back to House of Cards. We like to have a wide variety of guests from all corners of the gambling industry, and today we are fortunate enough to have somebody who makes movies. He is a filmmaker, video producer, and he has produced a documentary about blackjack called Inside the Edge. I'd like to welcome Chris Buddy to the show. Chris, are you there?
I'm here. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, we're really pleased to have you because you're an expert, at least at this point, on at least the inside of one of our favorite subjects, which is blackjack. Could you give us a little background of how it is you came to this project?
Absolutely. Pretty simple and quick answer. One of my best friends from college, undergraduate college, is a professional blackjack player, advantage player, card counter, and a second-generation card counter at that. His father was an innovator in the field in the late 50s, early 60s. So all throughout college, he kind of told me what he was up to, and it was piquing my interest along the way.
So there was a personal connection. So KC, who is the subject of your movie, he was a roommate in college?
Good friend of mine, yeah, and I think that speaks to kind of the way I was able to peel back kind of this secretive world. As you know, not too many people like to be out in the open on it, but I think there was a trust level there that we'd already been dear friends for a while, so he said, come on board and let's document this, as he was kind of wrapping up his career. I kind of came in the middle as he was ending his Vegas portion of his career. And then as the film depicts, we bought an RV and traveled the country and toured almost every casino in the country and some in Canada.
Well, you just answered one of my questions, and that is I didn't know if you were there filming the whole time or if some of the time he was somehow filming himself, because the travel was extensive. Tell us about how long it was that you and he went around the United States and Canada, and I guess Nassau in the Bahamas as well.
Absolutely, yeah, good call in the Bahamas too. Man, so the whole thing of the travel took about 2 years because, as I said, I started in his career in Vegas as he was being backed off from Vegas. So what's interesting about KC is, I don't know how much you guys get into kind of the minutiae of card counting, but he did something different as opposed to the other famous blackjack people that you hear about, with the team play or different kinds of tactics that people use as APs. But he gave his identification and came in as a big player. So he was friendly with the casinos, had a relationship with the casinos, and they soon did find out that he was an advantage player in counting, and they backed him off. So that's where we started, and then toured the country for about a year and a half, including the Bahamas, as you said, and Canada.
Well, I'm very curious because I think you and he are probably the only other people in the world who have been to as many casinos as I have played in. Did you keep a log of all the footage doesn't cover all the places you probably stopped in. Did you keep a log of all the casinos you actually went to?
I certainly have a log, and he has a very meticulous log that he keeps at the end of all of his sessions of wins and losses. So we have a calendar of every place we've been to, and then the footage speaks for itself, because what we did to kind of remind ourselves, and it was daunting. Every time we were in a new place or in front of a casino, we just did a quick interview of where we're at and kind of the wins and loss tally, just to remind us. So we only used a few of those in the film. But yeah, I mean, to speak to the film, we had about 900 hours of footage that we ended cutting down to 75 minutes. So yeah, we traveled for a while.
900. How many actual casinos, roughly, did you stop in?
Oh my God, I would say, I don't even know if I can get hundreds. I mean, there's so many small casinos. I mean, that was, to me, an eye-opener. I mean, obviously, every state has opened up casinos, and there are obviously pockets of casinos in Tunica and Reno and Atlantic City, but then there's these kind of little stops along the way where you peek your head in and, you can make a couple $1,000s an hour gambling.
I was really impressed that you made it to the one casino in Greenville, Mississippi, the Lighthouse Casino, it's now closed in fact, the number of the places you stopped in are now closed. And that was one. And I think you also wrote about, or you filmed going to a casino after a long journey that was closed when you got there. It had been turned into something else.
Absolutely. So we had followed, I think, Stanford Wong's Blackjack News, and then also a casino guidebook, and that was kind of our roadmap along the way. And a couple had shut down at the time we'd stopped in.
Did you get to meet Stanford Wong, which is a pseudonym, of course, or did he refuse to talk to you?
No, he is featured within the film. So to the film's end, we did film for about 2.5 years on the road and filming all the casino play, but then we kind of once that was done, we kind of went about the business of making the documentary film and interviewing as many authors, luminaries, other advantaged players, casino personnel, surveillance as we could to kind of paint the whole canvas of the card counting kind of blackjack casino relationship.
I see.
So yes, sorry, to answer your question, Stanford Wong is in the film.
He is. It's funny because I watched it just last night and I don't remember him being on film, but I'll have to go check it again. Listeners, we're going to cut away. We'll be back after a quick break.
You're listening to House of Cards. Check out our website at houseofcardsradio.com.
Hello, listeners. Welcome back to House of Cards. This is Ashley Adams, your host. For folks that just tuned in, we're talking to Chris Buddy, who is a filmmaker and video producer who just produced an extraordinary movie about blackjack called Inside the Edge. I had another bunch of questions about this. You're accompanying him for 2 years. Casey, you're with him for 2 years. Did you have any desire to partake of any of the gambling that you witnessed? Did you think, well, maybe I'll just try this for a while, or were you happy to eschew it entirely?
I was mainly happy to let him play and focus on the filmmaking. There were times where I would fit in and he would give me signals on how to bet and how to play the hand. And that was mainly, while it was fun to do and while it was profitable, it was mainly more to the end of getting footage at the table and getting some intimate close-up footage, which I should mention we filmed with a button camera inside the casino that people are wondering how we did it.
Yeah, well, I figured it was something like that. So you did a lot of filming, and I noticed that most of the time when you were doing the filming, it looked like the people you were filming had no idea that you were filming them, that you were doing it surreptitiously. Were you? Were you catching them surreptitiously a lot of the time?
That's exactly correct. I had, that was a big kind of, can we get this film done and get footage that no one had seen before? And that was a very big part of my kind of early research on whether this would be a worthwhile venture, making the film. And we did come across a very sharp, high-resolution button camera that literally looks like a button on your shirt. And I would suit up and wear that every time we were in the casino.
Well, I've got to say, that's what made this film most compelling for me. I knew a lot of the stories, and if you read a lot of the blackjack literature, as I have done, you know what happens to counters, to advantage players. But seeing it, hearing the words, hearing the tone of voice, it made it very, very real and compelling. So my question to you is, were you worried, and did you have to check to make sure that what you were doing with your surreptitious filming was legal?
That is a great question. So I'll answer that. I'll answer the second part first. We, of course, checked with lawyers meticulously. There's a law in any documentary film, and actually any film that you make, there is a long and lengthy legal process, and then errors in insurance and liability insurance. So that was, we signed off on many lawyers on the film. But to whether I was nervous or not, only a few times was I actually very nervous for my well-being. And a lot of times I took lead from KC, who's just so comfortable in casinos and has spent so many hours. He kind of knows when if the heat is getting there, or if, there's a security guard kind of getting ruffled up, because, you're dealing with human beings at the end of the day, and, they're unpredictable.
But he was never assaulted, and you were never assaulted, right?
He was assaulted a few times. He was assaulted in, if I can remember, I want to say Shreveport, Louisiana. He was detained beyond his, detained unlawfully, I think. And he was roughed up a little bit. But that was that was not included in the film. And that speaks to how much footage we got and how many unbelievable parts we had to even cut out of the film that you watched last night.
Did you have a difficult time surviving a 2-year road trip, just the toll that it takes on your psyche and eating out all the time? So how was it traveling around on you physically and psychically?
I think at the time it was incredible. Obviously, there were times where we were fatigued, but I think, as I mentioned, Casey was a great friend of mine from college. We'd already experienced a lot together. And then, there were times where the movie kind of took a backseat for half a day, and we'd see places of the country I'd never seen before. I'd never been to every state in the U.S., which I have now through the film. So there was a travel element of it. There was a time with a great friend that I'll never forget. And then there was also kind of the excitement of the blackjack. So enough to keep us interested along the way. So I know I was never, there was never too much to rest.
Did you get to go back to your home? I mean, I didn't even ask you about your background. Do you have a home? Do you have a family? Is there a place you call home, or do you live on the road all the time?
Great question. As a documentary filmmaker, if that's something you want to do, you have to be ready to follow the story. So I knew that going in. We did take some downtime, but really not not too much. We spent most of the time dedicated to the film, and him dedicated to his job as a professional blackjack player. But certainly holidays that came up. I had a wife at the time. I now have 2 kids, so I don't think I could have made this now with my 2 young kids. That just wouldn't have been feasible. But at the time, I was a little more untethered.
You said you had a wife at the time, and you have 2 kids now. Do you still have a wife?
I certainly do. Yeah, she loved the film. She was supportive, so a lot of credit goes to her as well.
That's great. My producer actually passed me a question that I think is very interesting. He said, were you ever asked to leave the casino because you were filming? I mean, I know you had a surreptitious camera, a button camera, but did you also have a regular visible camera that might have caused people to say, you can't film in here?
At times I did bring a small HD camera in to places I thought might not be as aggressive. And of course I was asked to stop filming, but no one ever caught on to the button camera because it literally looked like a button.
Right.
I certainly, just by association with KC, got kicked out of many, many places and barred from many, many places without ever having played a hand of blackjack, which I always thought was funny.
So your future as a blackjack counter clearly is not going to happen.
Absolutely right.
Yeah. Did they actually take photographs of you and put you into the Griffith book as well because you were with him?
I certainly know there were bolos passed out around me with my photo. I don't know that I was ever in the Griffith book, but certainly I saw be on the lookout flyers with both myself and Casey's picture.
Wow. Do you have any memorable stories that were not captured in the movie? Maybe an interesting encounter, maybe a great meal. I have no idea. Any other interesting stories that were not captured in the great movie that you did?
Well, you said meal, so it brought me to one funny part that actually is in the film, which is, I don't know if you remember in Boomtown, there's a very aggressive casino manager saying
yes.
it's an issue over identification in the casino. Are you obligated to produce an identification if the casino asks? And we kind of do get into that, the legality and the kind of gray area that arises from that encounter. And it was a pretty fireworks. It was a pretty intense conversation between Casey and the casino manager, but they had already comped our meal. This is a boomtown in Reno, or just outside of Reno.
Right.
And they'd already comped our meal without knowing who he was, just because he had been playing big. But I think within the next 30 minutes, they caught on that they didn't want him anywhere near the casino. But we still decided to take the free meal. And as we were eating, kind of loading up on steaks and prime rib, they swarmed us with security and kicked us out from the restaurant, which I thought was funny as well.
They wouldn't let you eat there. Listeners, we're going to cut away. We'll be back after a quick break. Hey, this is Dave Weishottle from House of Cards with your House of Cards gaming report for the week of September 30th, 2019. Caesars Entertainment has sold the Rio in Las Vegas to a New York realty firm. The property was sold for $516.3 million to a principal of Imperial Companies out of New York. Caesars will run the property for the next 2 years, paying an annual rent of $45 million. Next year's World Series of Poker is scheduled to be held at the Rio, with Caesars maintaining hosting rights to the event. Apple has extended its deadline for developers to adhere to their new requirements for gambling-related apps. Apple initially set the due date for September 3rd, but has extended that deadline to March 3rd of 2020. Earlier this year, Apple required gaming developers to provide only native iOS formats for apps in the Apple Store. And finally, the NFL's San Francisco 49ers have announced a partnership with the Cache Creek Casino Resort as its official casino. Under the multi-year deal, the casino will be presenting sponsor of the team for their pre- and post-game radio show, run several team-oriented contests, and offer promotions for the 49er fans. Sounds like a fun place to watch the game. Have any news or tips regarding casinos, gaming, or legislation? Send us an email at newsroom@houseofcardsradio.com and follow us on Twitter at HOC Radio.
You're listening to the House of Cards.
Well, don't take it too hard. I've done a lot of stupid things in my life, too.
Stupid? What do you mean, stupid?
Welcome back, listeners. For folks that just tuned in, we're talking to Chris Buddy, who is a filmmaker and video producer who just produced an extraordinary movie about blackjack called Inside the Edge. You know, a lot of those places have poker rooms, including Boomtown. And if I remember correctly, Boomtown had even though it was kind of a crummy casino, it had a high-end restaurant in it. I can't remember the name, but it was always interesting to me, the incongruity sometimes of what looked like a low-rent casino floor, and occasionally they'd have some super high-end restaurant, maybe to appeal to the 3 or 4 whales that might show up that would help them with their profit for the rest of the year. Very interesting. And there's also a Boomtown casino just on the south side of New Orleans, so that when you went to Harrah's in New Orleans, I was thinking maybe you would stop there as well. Did you have any favorite places to be, having traveled through all the states? Did you say, oh, wow, this is a great place. I didn't even know about it.
I mean, there were parts of Northern California travel-wise and casino-wise that I thought were nice. I thought Thunder Valley was kind of nice, and I'd never even heard of that casino before. Obviously, the Bahamas was great, that Atlantis resort, and the black. I mean, you'll see in the film Casey's playing blackjack out by the pool. I mean, that was great to film. I was sitting there with a shirt off, tanning as I was making a documentary. What could be better? So we definitely had a lot of fun along the way.
Yeah, it sounds like. So tell us now about the production and the viewing. How do people get to see this film, and how do you make money on it?
Well, that's a great question. But with any documentary, I mean, documentaries are kind of more of a labor of love. But I think in the U.S. and around the world, people are starting to kind of pay attention more and more to documentaries. I mean, Netflix has their true crime series. So I think documentaries are, I dare say this is a golden age of documentary. So our film is coming out on most video-on-demand platforms. So if you have a cable provider, you'll be able to see it. Certainly the iTunes Store, Amazon, and a number of other digital platforms. It'll be readily available. And we have a great distributor called Gravitas Ventures who releases it and markets a little bit. So, you know, and really, besides the post-production, this was kind of done, you know, and I think it was only done because we jumped right in. Casey gave me a call and said, if you want to come film us, let's go. And just both of us jumped right in with my camera equipment, bought the button camera. So it just got done.
Well, it's Inside the Edge. I found it compelling. It really keeps alive in people's imagination the possibility of making money as an advantage player, although, my goodness, what a tough way to make an easy living. But it is a compelling film. I hope people will see it. Inside the Edge on a platform near you. Chris, I really appreciate you joining us.
Thanks so much for talking with me.
All right, take care. Listeners,
Bye-bye.
That was Chris Buddy, a documentary filmmaker and video producer who has just made the movie about blackjack, Inside the Edge. We're going to take a break, and then we'll be back with another guest.
You're listening to House of Cards.
Where was the house? Where was the House of Cards?
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to House of Cards. I'm Ashley Adams. We are here with Angel Espino. He is a table game developer. I am Ashley Adams, your host. And Angel, are you there?
Yes, sir. I'm here.
Great. Okay. Well, let's take it from the top. Just so our listeners who may not recall, you've been on before. You are a table game developer. You've had 2 games that you've talked about before, and now you are out with a new game. Why don't you update us on what happened with the 2 games you talked about before on our show?
Yes, the 2 games are Blackjack Burnout and Poker Burnout. The Blackjack game is a blackjack variation game where you can hit and burn your hit card or a bust card that you don't want. So it gives you a second chance at winning. That is Blackjack Burnout. The Poker Burnout is the ultimate Texas Hold'em variation game, but the player gets 3 cards instead of 2 hold cards. So you get an extra card to choose to make a hand. So but you have to burn a card after the flop. And those are the 2 games that have been penned and have been placed and tested here in Colorado.
Okay, I remember you talking about how you were trying to get them placed. Where are they now, and how are they doing?
They're doing well. Blackjack Burnout and Poker Burnout are both at the Saratoga Casino here in Colorado, in Black Hawk, Colorado. And in California, we have a placement for Poker Burnout in Twin Pines Resort in California.
Oh, Twin Pines. That's up north of Sacramento, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And it's placed there now, or it's scheduled to be placed there?
It's placed there now. Poker Burnout is placed, and we are working. We had a show yesterday at G2E. It finished yesterday, and we got a lot of attention. A lot of people have interest. So we might be going to Oklahoma, Reno, Nevada, even Canada is interested. So there's some properties around the country. So we're getting some exposure now.
So how does that work, Angel? When somebody gets your game, do they give you a piece of the action, or do they pay you rent, or how does it work?
Okay, the way it works is when you have a placement, we use the term placement, and you do a licensing fee. So a property will pay you a monthly fee, whatever you agree to, or a package that you can put together multiple games. But the way it works, for one game, you get a monthly fee. So let's say it's $200 a month to have your blackjack game, whether the house opens a game or not, or makes money or not. You have a base pay per month.
Okay, and there's a base pay. Do you also get a percentage on top of that if the game does really well, or you just get your fee?
Correct. No, whether it does well or not, it's just a monthly fee.
I see. So give our listeners just some sense, before we talk about your new game, Monarchy Baccarat, how many games are pitched roughly in the course of a year, and how unusual is it to score with at least one or two casinos? Is it really unusual, or frankly, when you come up with a game, you know you're going to have at least a few places that are interested?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's difficult. It's a tough business. It's very competitive. I read a statistic that it's a 5% probability that of all games that people come up with in the U.S. that actually hit a show floor, or a gaming floor, I should say. It's a 5% probability, and then out of that 5%, there's like a 1% that your game will last it. That would make it. So wow. It's a tough business. Yeah, it is. It is very competitive. It's also a hit and miss. It's depending on trends. You got to read trends. What's happening right now? Right now, people like progressive. They would like to see a progressive in your poker game. Side bets on blackjack is what's keeping blackjack alive. What's keeping the interest in blackjack is the side bet. So you just follow the trends and follow what's hot, and then try to cater to the next generation of play too.
Gotcha. All right. Well, tell our listeners about your newest game, Monarchy Baccarat. What is it, and what makes it different from regular Baccarat?
Yes, Monarchy Baccarat is so it's its first, second, and third tier betting game. So it's like multi-action Bac. So what you do is you place 3 bets, and the first initial bet is a regular Baccarat hand, and it's played by the rules of regular Baccarat, whether you want commission or non-commission, and that's your regular hand. So once that hand is dealt, that hand is paid or you lose, right? Whatever you choose. But on the board, that hand that was dealt, the initial hand, stays. And then we go on to the second tier, which the player would do a first tier, second, third tier betting system. And the initial hand stays out. So then we draw 1 card for banker and 1 card only for player. And what we do here is then we evaluate and add that additional card to the initial total. So if, let's say, the banker had a natural 9, a 10, and a 9, and the banker would have won the first tier, and he draws a 10 on the second tier, then he still keeps that 9 natural, and he wins again. And then so on and so forth for the third tier.
I gotta say, Angel, for game developers and casinos, they probably very quickly, and you probably very quickly understand what a game is all about by explaining it. But I bet that the typical listener, when you talk about your first tier, your second tier, your third tier, you add the second card, they don't really get a picture of it in their head because they're not used to imagining it. So how about this? Tell our listeners how Monarchy Baccarat is faster, slower, more action over the course of an hour. The payouts, are they basically even odds payouts? Are there many other ways to get a bigger score, a larger jackpot, or is it pretty much the same as Baccarat except for the introduction of an extra card?
Okay, yes. So the difference between Monarchy Baccarat and your standard Baccarat is the beauty of the first thing is that you can play regular Bac on my game. And then the player has the option, which is the multi-action, that we offer. So what my game will do is give the player more action, and the house will have triple drop, triple hold, triple hands per hour, and triple the handle. So there'll be more money up on the table than your regular game, because you're giving the player 3 different bets all in one hand.
I see.
So it's more action for the player. Yes, sir. It's more action for the player and more probability for the house for more drop and more hold.
Gotcha. And that's what it's all about for the house is drop and hold, how much they actually take out of the game. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back.
House of Cards is brought to you by Drizzly, your online liquor store. Available in over 95 cities across North America, Drizzly offers a huge selection and competitive pricing with a side of personalized content. Now there's no need to leave the house. Get alcohol delivered in less than an hour by Drizzly. Head on over to drizzly.com and order today. And now get $5 off your first order of $20 or more when using promo code DRINK19 at checkout. Shop beer, wine, and liquor with drizzly.com.
Yeah, you, come here. Haven't you heard? We don't need to hide anymore.
Now, we can shop privately for adult products at adamandeve.com. They've got massage oils, lingerie, and lots more we can't mention here. Use offer code SPICE404. They'll give you 50% off almost any one item, 3 free DVDs, free mystery gift, and free shipping. That's 50% off, free shipping, and more. Private shopping starts at adamandeve.com.
You're listening to the House of Cards.
Brunson, Gus Hansen, Seidel. Ain't nothing special. Watch them on TV back in my house, and it's just so freaking obvious to me that they're bluffing.
I know, man. I can always tell what they've got.
Oh, sure. It's obvious when ESPN is showing you their whole cards. There's no whole card cam here. You want to know what I'm holding? You're going to have to read my face.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Ashley Adams. You're listening to House of Cards. Listeners, if you just tuned in, we're talking to Angel Espino, who is a table game developer. Right. And if I read this correctly, the tie bet is still a very bad bet for the player, though a lot of players like it because the payout is higher. But then you do something that's interesting, and I wonder, this may be a little too esoteric for people to get, but it looked like, the tie bet historically is the one that everybody says, oh, stay away from the tie bet if you're the player because the house has like a 12% or 11% advantage, so just stick to, right? But what you do is the tie bet on the first level is a bad bet, but then you make the tie bet, if I got it right, on the second or the third level, it's actually a very competitive bet, but then like the bank bet will be the one that's not a very good bet on one of those levels. Did I read that correctly, or do I have it wrong?
I think it's still not as probable. I should say for the title, for the outcome would be tie. It's still it's a long shot. But the beauty of it, I think, what we're trying to get at is the first tier, the first hand is dealt, and it's a tie. Then it has more likely that you'll have a tie on the second and third tier because all we're doing is adding one card to the outcome of the first hand. So what that does is that it is more probable that you'll have a tie and a tie. So what I did is I added a feature bet, and it's called a trifecta. The trifecta is, the trifecta is when you guess the outcome of all 3 hands that are going to come out in that one session of betting. So it's kind of like betting on all three horses that are going to come in on the top three finishes. So if you guess properly, banker or player, we'll pay 6-1. But if you guess tie that would happen in that one session of betting, it's 400-1. It'll pay 400-1.
But the house edge, I'm looking at your title, all trifectas at 6-1, tie. It says the house edge is 98.59%.
Correct. For the house edge is very high because it's the probability of being a tie and a tie simultaneously. It's it's very difficult for it to hit. Right. So that way the payout for tie instead of 6-1, it'll be 400-1.
Okay.
So $10, we'll get you $4,000.
I got it. All the esoteric stuff involved in game development and distribution. Where are you trying to get Monarchy Baccarat to start? Do you have any places that have picked it up?
Yes. We just got back from Las Vegas, G2E, largest gaming expo in the U.S. and probably the world. I met people from the UK. They're very interested in Monarchy Baccarat. It's popular over there. It's the fastest growing game in the U.S. also. So we have some potential leads in Nevada, Canada also. There's interest in Canada. So being at the expo, I was able to meet, GMs, table games managers, casino operations managers from around the world. So it had a lot of exposure, and I'm glad I brought it to the show to present. So it definitely got a lot of interest, and I have to follow up with a lot of emails today.
Great. We're going to close in about a minute, but I had a couple of other quick questions. First of all, can you give us your website if people want to see more about you and the games you've developed? Where should they go?
Oh, yes. My website is Blackjack Burnout. So it's Blackjack, the word Blackjack, and then Burnout, BURNOUT.com. So blackjackburnout.com.
Blackjackburnout.com. You have an astonishing success record. If what you told us is correct, which is that there's only a 5% probability of having a game picked up, that's 1 out of 20, and you've already gotten 2 games that are running right now, a third one that looks like it's going to be picked up, and the other ones you haven't even really introduced yet. That's remarkable, Angel.
I think I've been very lucky of who I've circled my team and a group of people that I've done a lot of feedback, and I do a lot of research, and it helps that I've started dealing in 1997. So I've had a lot of experience as a dealer, and I've been following the trends, and I'm inundated in the industry. So that's helped a lot. I have my ear to the ground on what's going on. And I just keep trying new things. So far I'm 2 for 2 for placements in Colorado and California, and that's starting to take off too. And then Monarchy got picked up, and it looks like we're going to get some placements pretty soon. So I've been batting 100% so far.
That's terrific. Great. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Listeners, that was Angel Espino. He is a table game developer.
We have no more time. Listeners, come back next week. And until then, good luck and good day.